Hey, it's Tony Brueski, and this is our week in review over the weekend, taking a look back at some of the most compelling conversations and stories that we've covered for you of the last week. Brand new episodes back Monday morning, bright and early, 5 a.m. here on the podcast.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
You had said earlier it was seemingly a battle of who's going to be top dog. Was this really an ego thing between the local and FBI, or was it more of a cover-up thing? Because obviously this thing has all the ingredients for conspiracy theories, and obviously there's a lot of them surrounding this. And sometimes optics are just that. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is a conspiracy. It could just mean somebody was really screwing things up left and right and had to keep covering up lie after lie and doesn't even know where the hell they're going with it. But there's a lot of people involved here and a lot of moving parts, and a lot of them really seem to kind of go on this path of not necessarily the truth. Is there a systematic thing possibly going on here in this community with, we go into the area of Odinism a little bit, which I know you don't buy, but when you have some of these allegations against prison guards, against some of the officers involved, and obviously specifically Tony Liggett is one of them, are we talking about something that is more of a cover-up because maybe someone was involved in this that maybe somebody knew, or somebody in high power was involved in this, or somebody high power knew somebody and they didn't want to, let that get out. They wanted to cover for somebody or something or themselves.
Well, I don't think that can just be dismissed summarily based on what we're seeing here. But I truly believe that at the beginning, when the girls were found, remember the girls were found by volunteers.
Yeah.
They weren't even discovered by law enforcement. And then law enforcement. So just think about the possibility of crime scene being not protected appropriately by those people inadvertently.
Yeah.
In other words, whenever you enter a crime scene, you leave something behind and you take something with you. It's just, whether it's a hair, whether it's a fiber, whether it's a bullet, whether it's whatever it is, that's how it works. And so you first have them found by civilians. Did those civilians touch them? Did they go over to see if they were alive? Did they remove some of that brush? What really happened? All of that we need to see. And then after, but again, that's going to be on their testimony, what they did, because nobody would have been around. Then you had law enforcement go in, and law enforcement was local law enforcement. What was their skill set in really protecting a crime scene and setting up a very large perimeter that should have been set up in this situation? Just think of all those volunteers that were walking around and moving around during that time frame. And I think so at the very seed of this case is really mistakes, I think, that were made with that crime scene, and to protect that crime scene and analyze that crime scene. I've always asked, well, if there was this rune on the tree that appeared to be an F, did anyone ever take the bark and analyze it for touch DNA or any DNA? My understanding is nothing was done.
Yeah.
With that, how about the sticks? They would have had to been moved, and were those ever maintained in evidence? My understanding is no. So I think there's just so many mistakes that were an embarrassment to local and state authorities. The Bureau comes in later. It's a month before there's a search warrant created by the FBI for Ron Logan's house. Of course, a month later, it's difficult to find evidence. But yes, in answer to your initial question, Tony, I think it just needs to be scratched and start over. But I do think if the confessions that Ron Logan made to his mom and to his wife, these 5 confessions, if he offers information that is not known prior or gives, good description, if, it's possible that, that could make the case for law enforcement. Still doesn't hide, though, all of this Brady information that I think is going to come out and is coming out.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other component to this whole thing is, I think sometimes this assumption that this was, really premeditated and planned out. I suppose there's ways that could have been done, but this was kind of random. These kids were out for a walk. There wasn't like a billboard saying, hey, the kids are going to go for a walk right here this day at this time. Be ready, Odinists, or be ready, serial killer, or whoever you are that's going to do this. It would almost assume that whoever decided to do this horrible act acted somewhat spur of the moment. And with that being said, the way that they were found, the idea that if you're going to commit a crime like this, you'd think you'd really actually want to try and cover your tracks, not just cover kids in sticks. It just seems very poorly executed. It seems very poorly hidden. I mean, is that the work of an Odinist or just some nut that wanted to kill kids that day and saw an opportunity and decided to go for it?
Well, this is the issue I have with that, is that this individual would have happened to have his gun on him, happened to have a sharp object, which is, of course, believed to be a knife on him. So in some respects, he had the tools that were necessary with him to commit this crime. So was he just walking around hoping that there would be innocents he could attack? I don't know if that makes sense. And then, of course, we can't discount that Anthony shot's communication, even though it's been discounted in some regards. Supposedly there was communication, and was there a meeting set up? I don't know. All of that has sort of been, it's been decided by law enforcement that wasn't accurate. But I just have always never been able to come to terms with how were Killer and two young girls in the same area at the same time and an opportunity created.
Unless it is like you said, it was maybe someone out there that was hunting in the sickest sense of the word and was ready for this whenever it was that they came across their prey. And eventually it was these two young girls.
Well, and that's what we have to believe if we believe Richard Allen did this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to believe that he set off that morning to hunt down, or that's how it turned out, that he had his gun on the ready, that he had a knife that could inflict this type of wounds, and that he took it upon himself to murder these two girls out of the blue. Remember, Richard Allen is not linked to any other crimes of this sort. Mm-hmm. He was a pharmacy tech working at CVS day in and day out. Yeah. So the whole thing, whether it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but like I said, it's going to come down to those confessions, Tony, in my opinion. And will this search warrant be thrown out because of information not provided? Will there be a Franks hearing? I think there'll be a Franks hearing. Yeah. I can't imagine them letting him free, though.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens in that Franks hearing, if that does take place.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advance access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.